Sam already knew. 12 years. Percy carried this secret for 12 years, left Barry's Bay because of it, moved to Seattle, wrote obituaries for people she didn't know because she couldn't face her own life. Panic attacks, dead-end situationships, 12 years of silent self-destruction over one night she couldn't take back. And Sam Florek already knew the whole time. That's what the finale does. That's the thing it saves. You're watching Percy finally come clean, bracing yourself, and then Sam just goes, "I know! Charlie told me, Christmas break, years ago!" And the floor drops out, because suddenly every single moment of this season means something completely different. Sam wasn't pulling away because he found out something new. He'd been sitting with this information for over a decade, processing it, carrying it, and never said a word. So it was never about what happened in the boathouse. Sam's exact words, "It's the 12 years of silence. That's the wound, not the act, the silence." Okay, so let's actually go back to the beginning, because if you don't have the full architecture of this season, the ending doesn't hit right. Percy Fraser spent 6 summers at Barry's Bay as a kid. Every year, she and her family came back to this little Ontario lake town. And every year, the Florek brothers were there, Sam and Charlie. And over those 6 summers, what starts as pure childhood friendship slowly turns into the kind of first love that basically writes the emotional operating system for the rest of your life. Percy and Sam become each other's person, completely. Then Sam gets into a prestigious program, leaves early, and instead of being honest about it, he ghosts her for weeks, just disappears, stops picking up, goes quiet. And then when he finally does communicate, it's via email, a breakup email, which Charlie, who is not always the moral authority in this story, but is correct here, called cowardly. And then Percy calls to confront him, and a girl picks up the phone and says Sam went to get beers. So Percy's sitting there realizing the email wasn't even the full truth. He wasn't busy and focused, he had moved on, and he didn't have the decency to say that. That summer, Percy is wrecked. She's hurt and furious and completely alone, and she has this whole summer stretching out in front of her that was supposed to be with Sam, and she ends up spending it with Charlie instead. They restore a boat together. They bond over it. And one night, alcohol, insecurity, the specific kind of grief you feel when someone you loved just casually discards you, one thing happens. One night, mutually bad decision, immediately regretted by both of them. Percy gets consumed by guilt, like not normal guilt, panic attack guilt. Her parents eventually sell the family house because Barry's Bay is too much for her, and she just doesn't come back. For 12 years, Charlie leaves town too, throws himself into work, sends money to Sam from a distance because he figures if he can fund Sam's life and career, that's a kind of penance that doesn't require him to actually have a conversation about what happened. Avoidant behavior has many flavors, and Charlie Florek has tasted all of them. Now 12 years later, Sue Florek, the brother's mom, has died, and Percy comes back to Barry's Bay for the funeral. Sam is in medicine, has a girlfriend named Taylor. And the moment Percy shows up, it's like no time has passed, and also like every single second of those 12 years is sitting in the room with them. The season runs on this dual timeline structure. You're watching the teenage version of their relationship build in flashbacks, while watching the present-day version try to figure out if there's anything left to salvage. And the show is genuinely good at making both timelines feel urgent. Episode 5 is the one where Sam almost proposes to Taylor. He gets into this speech, gets genuinely vulnerable, and then just stops, puts the ring back in his pocket, because somewhere in the middle of articulating why he wants to commit to Taylor, his brain finished the sentence with, "But it's not Taylor I want." He tells Percy he wants an authentic life. He wants them, and Percy knows she can't let that happen without telling him the truth first. She tells him in episode 6. Sam spirals, goes missing, gets found at some dive bar completely obliterated. And Charlie, who, again, is not always the moral authority, tries the full Ross Geller "we were on a break" defense with Sam. And I cannot stress enough how badly that landed. Sam punches him. Jordy, who is frankly the most entertaining person in this show, calls Charlie's decision as low as you could go. And then when Charlie goes, "Give me a shovel, I can go lower," Jordy goes, "That tracks, actually." Episode 7 in the boathouse is the proper reckoning between Percy and Charlie. Percy has a full panic attack locked in there with him. They both finally admit fault, not just it happened, but the actual mechanics of how they got there. Percy was hurt and alone, and wanted to lash out at Sam. Charlie was jealous of what Sam had, and couldn't commit to anything himself. Neither of them are villains. They're just two people who made a terrible call in a terrible moment, and then spent a decade being defined by it. And the episode ends with Sam finding them hugging in the boathouse, which is not great optics. Okay, finale. Episode 8 opens at Sue's memorial service. And before they even get to that, Percy gets found by Sam wearing a tutu and a tiara, making waffles in the kitchen, which is very specific grief behavior and honestly, correct. Sometimes you process things with a tutu. Sam asks her to stay for the memorial. She does. Both brothers speak. Sam breaks down mid-eulogy. Charlie's speech is described as heartwarming, and Sam actually acknowledges it afterward. Brief thaw. They talk about how they're basically orphans now, how Sue was the center of everything for both of them, and Charlie starts thinking maybe the relationship is repairable. Sam immediately clarifies, "I've lost you too." Not yet. He can't yet. And then comes the dock scene. Percy tells Sam about her and Charlie. Fully. No more holding it. And Sam goes, "I know. Charlie told me years ago. He told me you still loved me, that you immediately regretted it." So Sam had all the information. And he still spent 12 years unable to bridge it. And what comes out isn't rage about what happened. It's the 12 years of Percy never trusting him enough to tell him herself. The silence was the actual betrayal. And then the exchange that wrecked me every time. "I loved you. I know. You broke my heart. I know that too. I want so much to forgive you, but I don't think I can do this. I know." 3. I knows. No defense. No explanation. Percy just stands in the full weight of what she did and accepts it completely. That is the most emotionally mature thing she does all season. It's also devastating because you can see how much she wants to fight for it and she knows she doesn't get to. They get one last goodbye in the back of Sam's pickup, because these two have always been dramatic about goodbyes and they're not going to stop now. And then everyone goes back to their lives. Percy returns to Seattle, but she's different. She reclaims her full name, Persephone, queen of the underworld. Like she's going full mythology about her healing journey, and I respect it enormously. She stops writing obituaries for strangers, starts writing things that actually make her happy. And she arrives at this understanding that she isn't defined by one night or one place or one person. She's the sum of everything, the good summers, the boathouse, the 12 years of silence, all of it. She's made of moments, not mistakes. Sam goes back to medicine, stops hiding from his career, quietly becomes Percy's biggest supporter from a distance, following her writing without making it a whole thing. That restraint is doing heavy lifting for his character in these final minutes. Charlie throws himself into work, as he does, because Charlie Florek has never emotionally processed anything in his life, and the show is very aware of this. And here's where Sue comes back into the picture. Sue left Percy the tavern in her will, which on the surface feels a little random they were close, but not in an obvious "I leave you my business" way. But the finale gives you a flashback of Sue telling Percy, "The Florek boys don't run this town, we do." Sue wanted Percy to have it because she trusted her to love it properly. And then it gets deeper. Charlie told Sue everything too. Sue knew about Percy and Charlie, knew that Sam had proposed to Percy at some point, and Percy had rejected him because of the guilt. And she wanted Percy at her funeral, because she knew Sam would need her there. Sue Florek was running a long-game, emotional healing operation from her deathbed, and none of these people realized it until it was already working. That's not just good parenting. That's supernatural. Percy and Delilah reopened the tavern together. Opening night 45-minute wait. Packed. They built something. They ate. Chantal and Geordie stopped keeping things murky and officially defined the relationship, which Geordie has been patient enough. Good for him. Delilah, who spent the year doing a whole post-divorce situationship run, which included briefly Charlie, which is going to be a whole thing in season 2, watches Geordie and Chantal kiss and feels something shift. She spent years prioritizing the right image over the right person, and she's only now starting to understand what that cost her. Summer comes back around. Percy is cleaning up after the big opening night. Hears a voice, turns around. Sam is standing there, and he says the exact phrase Percy said to him when she first came back to Barry's Bay after 12 years away. "You came home?" That's not a reunion. That's the beginning of the possibility of one. The love is still there. The door is open. They're not together yet, but yet is doing real work in that sentence. And then there's Charlie. Charlie is at work, and on a colleague's wall completely randomly, his colleague's wife bought it at some gallery, there's a photo. Charlie, Sam, and Percy on the boat in Barry's Bay, before everything became what it became. A reminder of who they were. He goes back to look at it again after a long day. His arm starts hurting. He grabs his chest. He collapses. Heart attack. Exactly like his father. The same thing that killed their dad is now coming for Charlie at the exact moment he might have thought there was a path back to his brother. Delilah had been flagging for the whole episode that she was worried about him. The show plants the foreshadowing. Charlie's been coping through overwork, and it finally caught up with him. His fate is unknown when the screen cuts to black. The thematic structure here is deliberate, and it's actually kind of brutal. The entire finale is built around time being the healer of all things. Time will let Sam forgive. Time brought Percy home. Time rebuilt the tavern. Summer came back around and Sam came with it. Time. That's the lesson the whole episode is teaching. And then in the last 5 minutes, the show goes, sure, but time isn't guaranteed. Charlie has been running from everything for a decade. Work instead of grief, money instead of apology, avoidance instead of repair. And the moment he sees a photo that reminds him of who he was before all of it, his body shuts down. The season 2 setup is obvious, and I don't mean that as a criticism. Will Charlie survive? Will this be the thing that finally brings Sam back into his life, the health scare, mirroring the thing that shaped both brothers in the first place, their father's death? Will the Florek brothers get their reconciliation not through a conversation but through a crisis? And for book readers, Carly Fortune's follow-up novel, One Golden Summer, is literally Charlie's love story. Showrunner Amy B. Harris has already said they're pulling from it. Charlie is not dying off screen. Barry's Bay in season 2 belongs to him. That's every answer. That's every question the season leaves open. And the only thing left is to wait.